Have you ever wondered how big countries consolidate their positions? Why? It is always the large powers in the world issue sanctions and intimidate others. Well, let's talk about coercive diplomacy today. I'm Saina. Welcome to Factstyle. When we apply coercion in international politics, it becomes coercive diplomacy. As fanciful as it may sound, this concept is not hard to understand at all. The big power gets the smaller ones to act in a way that these smaller countries would not otherwise choose to act. It is not a brand new concept in international politics. It was first written by Alexander George in 1971. However, as early as ancient times, Athens had already mastered this instrument of statecraft by imposing a trade boycott on Spartan's ally Megara to serve their interests. And nowadays, the country that favors coercive diplomacy, or let's say, wielding its big stick against the rest of the world, is the United States. America, as the strongest superpower in the world, intimidates smaller countries in more callous ways: military threats, economic sanctions, and political pressure. The strategy of coercive diplomacy is an inherent instrument of U.S. statecraft. It works best when they employ a strategy with both carrots and sticks. On the military side, the country faces a $100 billion bill each year in the bid to beef up its coercion assets or build its stick. In 2003, it even characterized $30.3 billion of military expenses explicitly for coercive diplomacy. I mean, $30.3 billion US dollars, that is a lot of money. And for those too stubborn to accept its rule, such as Iran, Cuba, Syria, and Venezuela, I'm just here to name a few, the US has resorted to more methods of coercion than direct military threats, such as economic sanctions and political pressure. This actually reminds me of something: school bullying.
We'll stand together with others against economic coercion and intimidation.
Wait, if you don't like coercion, why do you guys use it so much? Because unlike what Blinken said, the economic sanctions his country has imposed on Iran, and this has been dubbed as the strongest sanction regime in history. This is a report published by UN Human Rights, and I'm going to show you. It concludes, no doubt the impact of sanctions will harm ordinary people in the Islamic Republic of Iran and affect their enjoyment of a range of human rights. And this actually has been confirmed by their own people, the U.S. former Secretary of State Michael Pompeo.
After our sanctions come in force, it will be battling to keep its economy alive.
Yes, I believe you guys don't like coercion. But it's like I'm saying, I don't like junk food, but I have burgers and chips 3 meals a day. Besides critiquing the sanctions on Iran, the UN has also called out the US for what it did to a number of countries in a series of reports over the years. Let me show these to you. In Syria, the strict nature of United States sanctions contribute to the chilling effects because it makes those non-US banks have paid billions of dollars in sanctions to US regulators in sanction-related penalties. And also in Zimbabwe, sanctions were applied to certain politicians in Zimbabwe during the July 2018 election, and it made the country negatively affected the right of Zimbabwe's people to choose their own political future. This has also happened in Cuba. The U.S. embargo on Cuba has been enforced for more than half a century, and it was described by UN as in violation of international law and has been condemned by most of the international community. This has also happened in Venezuela. The decision by the U.S. to blacklist high-ranking officials of the government of Venezuela has raised serious concerns. It appears that it was also in violation of the most basic principles of the rule of law. Why I'm showing you all these is because I want to tell you how much the US is in favor of using coercive diplomacy and how it becomes its inherent instrument. And now, its new target is China. Just as the US used coercion to hobble its competitors such as Alstom of France, Toshiba of Japan, and Samsung of South Korea, and now TikTok of China. Back in 2020, the Trump administration basically just told this Chinese company to either sell the app to a US company or be completely shut down. What is even worse, Trump also said that if the sale could go through, only if the US gets a cut. Namely, TikTok had to pay a substantial amount of money to the US Treasury for facilitating the transaction. Speaking of the coercive diplomacy, this is top-notch. The US was attempting to rob a flagship Chinese tech brand. This year, amid the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we saw the US exercise this tactic once again. After fanning the flames in Ukraine, the US forced countries to toe its line in sanctioning Russia, or they could expect sanctions themselves. However, before we even get to sanction debate itself, there is perhaps a more important question led us to discuss. Wouldn't be the conflict between Russia and Ukraine had been avoidable? International political theorists argued, we invited, if not compelled, a conflict with our politics of intrigue and meddling in Eastern Europe. He called this remains political and strategic malpractice. A former U.S. Army colonel also contended in an interview.
I see no reason why we should fight with the Russians over something that they have been talking about for years. We simply chose to ignore it. And more important, the population there is indistinguishable from their own. You know, the thing that's so disturbing is that on the one hand, we will not send our forces to fight, but we are urging Ukrainians to die pointlessly in a fight they can't win. We're going to create a far worse humanitarian disaster than anything you've seen thus far if it doesn't stop.
What he said was so true. Yet today, we're still seeing the U.S. attempting to escalate, even prolong this conflict by giving false hope to the Ukrainians. America's coercive diplomacy is not just aimed at well-known adversaries, but also at its allies. In 2020, Britain banned Huawei's 5G kit installation from September 2021 and ordered all Huawei equipment to be removed from its 5G network. As the world's leading 5G technology provider, Huawei's cooperation with UK is vital to the country's development. So why did Britain suddenly decide to undermine its own national interests?
And the reason we have disengaged from China and Huawei and 5G has got nothing to do with British national security. It's because we were told by the Americans that we had to. And the Germans, who took a view in their national interest, have kept with 5G, and if Britain had, we would now be at the forefront of countries using the most advanced telecommunications technology, and we're not.
Frank, straightforward and true words. Yes, it's because the Americans told the Britons not to. It was nothing to do with the UK's national security, but was a true bomber to its national interests. And just as Cable said, if Britain had said no to the US request, they would now be at forefront of countries who are using the most advanced technologies. The gas deal between Germany and Russia is another example of American coercion.
Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not.
Okay, the pipeline deal here refers to the Nord Stream 2, a natural gas pipeline from Russia to Germany, financed by Russian and European energy companies. Germany needs gas, and Russia has gas, quality assured, and it is affordable. It's a good business for both sides, but not for America.
Well, I reiterated my concerns about Nord Stream 2. Senator Merkel and I are absolutely united in our conviction that Russia must not be allowed to use energy as a weapon to coerce or threaten its neighbors.
No, Merkel and Biden did not unite. Merkel still wanted no matter how hard Biden tried to stop it, because Merkel knew the Nord Stream 2 was in Germany's national interests. And in terms of this deal, no, it was not Russia that was coercing the European countries, but the US, which coercing the European countries to sacrifice their own national interests to meet American strategic objectives, such as weakening the connection between Russia, damaging Russia's interests, and increasing the export of American natural gas to Europe. The US even tried to sanction the construction company and its CEO in order to stop the project, though it was granted a waiver for further negotiations with Germany. And now that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has forced Germany to hold Nord Stream 2. This kind of coercive diplomacy is based on its strong national strength and advantage of its diplomatic position. With all these examples I just showed you, it's kind of show how America does not mind using all possible instruments to oppress other countries and maximize its own interests. This is why we say hegemony is dangerous to other countries and everyone in the world. If you like our show, please click like and subscribe. Don't hesitate to leave your opinions and comments down below. I would love to see how you guys think. That's it for today. See you guys next time. Bye for now.